Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Just Saying Football with Jack and Sean. I'm your host, Sean Gann, alongside my partner, Jack McNicholas. We're here to bring you news, notes, weekly updates, and game analysis of your favorite teams from around the league. If you haven't had the chance, go check out our website at justsayingfootball.com and follow us on Instagram at justsayingNoGWJS for article and video updates. All right, buddy. Week 8 continues that Sunday at 1 p.m. Let's just jump right into it. We're the Cincinnati Bengals and their high-powered offense heading over to New York to take on the Jets, which will have no Zach Wilson. He's out for 2 to 4 weeks with a PCL sprain. Jack, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, man. I mean, this Bengals team right now, you got to love what they're doing. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon looking like a huge triple threat. The Bengals right now leading the division over that huge win against the Ravens last week. And the Jets last week, as you mentioned, no Zach Wilson. It's going to be a pretty tough one for the Jets.
Yeah, I'm going to just right out the gate. I'm going with the Bengals. They're first in their division, like you said, a statement win over the Ravens, who I had picked. Bengals are just looking good, man. They're looking really, really good. Sitting at 5-2. I like what they're doing offensively. Their defense is really picked up. Trey Henderson has been playing well. I love them. Got to stick with the Bengals in this one.
Yeah, Bengals allowing the 5th least amount of points right now, and the Jets are not the threat to do it. I'm down with the Bengals this week. Looking like, a big dominant, 6-2 Bengals team. Watch out. That's going to be a big one.
No, absolutely. All right, moving on. A little bit of an AFC showdown as the Tennessee Titans make their way to Indianapolis to take on the Colts. Colts right now, they're surging, man. They're at 3-4, but the Titans are at 5-2, and they also got a statement win against an AFC team this last week against the Chiefs.
Yeah, and the Titans are rolling right now. Especially going into this game, they got to feel good going on the road against a division opponent. These two running backs right now are dominating right now. But when you look at it, Jonathan Taylor, who right now has 579 yards, he is the second most. Derrick Henry has 969 already, and he has 86 more attempts than Taylor so far, which is something that just blew my mind. It's looking like, the Titans are going to run Derrick Henry right back into the playoffs, and your guy A.J. Brown came back last week in a big way.
Dude, A.J. Brown was absolutely electric last week. You love seeing him get involved after the injury. We've been waiting all year for that one game that he really kind of gets it started. It took a little bit longer this year. Last year was like around week 5, he finally had that game. And then last week he went off 8 receptions, 133 yards and a touchdown. That's what you love to see. I think if you're looking at this game, though, you just want to see a little bit more Julio Jones. We know that he has the talent. We know he hasn't had a lot of time with Ryan Tannehill. So we got to cut him some slack, but I think it's going to be a huge A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, Derrick Henry game. I'm going to ride with the Titans and everything that they're doing offensively. I trust them. They're coming off of a big win. They know how important winning a game in their division is.
Yeah, I'm loving what Tennessee is doing this year, but really there's this gut feeling for me to go with the Colts. I'm loving what they're doing right now. Honestly, even though they're 3-4, they started 0-3, and it's looking like the last couple of games they've been figuring it out. They're familiar enough with Derrick Henry, but this is going to be a very close game in my opinion. Right now, there's 1 point spread. The Colts are favored, and it's an interesting one when you look at it. It's going to be very close, but I like the Colts weirdly in this one.
Yeah, it's just their running backs. The running backs in this one, such a great matchup. I love that. Let's move on to the next one. Pretty lopsided game, going to be honest. We got the LA Rams going to Houston to take on the Texans. The Texans just traded Mark Ingram back over to the Saints. That just happened. He is set to go and to play in week 8 with the Saints. So that's going to be pretty exciting. But I'm locking in the Rams. No offense, Houston Texans fans, into the organization. They are in full rebuild mode, as we have been talking about. This is not going to be their seasons. They're looking for a top 5 draft pick for sure this year. Locking in the Rams, Cooper Kupp, Darrell Henderson, Matthew Stafford, Robert Woods, man.
Yeah, and the Rams, they said last week they didn't play the best against Detroit. That's got to be some Matthew Stafford emotion, in my opinion. But the crazy thing is these guys are 6-1 right now. They're going to Houston feeling great. They are a top 5 offense, top 7 defense. And when it comes to Houston is kind of bottom of the rankings in most statistics on both sides of the ball. So, you got to ask yourself, the only bright spot with them now is probably David Johnson gets some more looks. But, Aaron Donald is still going to be on that field. Jalen Ramsey versus Brandon Cooks, do not like that matchup. How many sacks do you think Aaron Donald gets on Davis Mills this week?
I'm going to lock in 3. I think this is a really big Aaron Donald sack day. I feel like he hasn't gotten the kind of sacks that we're used to seeing him get
Yeah.
in the season. Everyone, yes, he's a defensive lineman. He plays at interior line. It's harder for them to get sacks. That's 100% true. But he's proven year in and year out he can get sacks. He led the league, or no, he was second in the league last year, or tied for first with TJ Watt. I expect him to still be up there. And I think this is a game where get a big feast, get those 3 sacks, man. Let's make those stats look like they're insane. He's a monster. This is a weak offensive line. I will for sure lock in 3 sacks with that guy.
Yeah, I love to hear that, man. So the next matchup, you just mentioned a guy, TJ Watt. He is poised for a big game this week when we're looking at the Steelers, going to the Browns, and the Browns no Baker again, which is tough.
Yeah, this is a tough one. What I will say is that Case Keenum was serviceable. Look, I'm a Case fan. All right.
Case guy. Sean's Case guy.
Yeah, I am a Case guy. He brought the little known Minnesota Viking team to the NFC Championship game in 2017, and we almost were the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last year. We would have been the first team to not only play in our home stadium but have won. Yes, that's right. If we were in there, we would have won somehow. But no, I like Case Keenum. I think he knows the Kevin Stefanski system really well. I didn't talk about this last week, and I wish I had brought it up. But Stefanski was there that year where he found a lot of success, and he understands the Stefanski offense really well. He looked pretty comfortable in it. You could see that they were trying to get the ball out a little bit more with him than they are with Mayfield. But I think that he's someone who can manage his team, manage what they're doing. Hopefully Jarvis Landry's in the mix. OBJ, you want to see a little bit more action from him. Chubb is trending upward to play this week, which is huge. I mean, this is an AFC Browns team that we really thought was going to be one of the top tier teams. They started out really hot, but then injuries just ravaged them.
Yeah, and last week, thank God that Dearness Johnson came in on the primetime game and took care of business for them. But it has to be a little bit better. This Steelers defense is tough, and when they come and play the Browns, they always try to bring the heat. Big Ben always loves to beat them, but this is an interesting game for Najee Harris for me. If the defense for the Browns is fully healthy, I would love to see him have a big game in this one. Claypool as well. There are a couple of people on the Steelers that you've been hoping would boom this year, and maybe this division rivalry will get it done. I believe that the Steelers have the chance to win this game. Just due to Cleveland still being a little injured, even when they're good. But the Steelers defense, TJ Watt, I love them this week at Cleveland. I'm going to go with the Steelers.
This is a really tough one for me. This to me is like it's a 50-50 game. This one can go either way. It could definitely go the Browns way for certain reasons. The offense of the Steelers isn't super strong. They're going to be down. No Juju Smith-Schuster still. He's out for the year. Really good defensive front in the Browns could make it a problem for Harris. But on the flip, there's so many injuries on the Browns that the defense of the Steelers have the same possibility. So this to me is one of those games where it's going to be a toss-up. And you really have no idea, despite what everyone else may think. So just to oppose you, I'm going to go with the Browns, but I genuinely think that this is a split even match at 50-50. And let's move on to this next one. We have the Philadelphia Eagles heading to Detroit to take on the Lions. And I'm just going to say this now. I am locking in the Lions for their first win of the season. Last week, I was impressed by Detroit, okay? Dan Campbell and them came out into the Rams territory, and they said, we're going to pull every trick in the bag. We saw onside kick in the opening sequence of the game. I loved it. They did two fake punts, and they got the first down. They were in their bag of tricks, man. I like it. This team is tough. This team is not going to go down without a fight. Dan Campbell is a good coach despite the record. He clearly has rallied the troops. And everyone knows I love Jalen Hurts. He's a my guy for sure. I like Devonta Smith, but I just like the nitty grittiness of this Lions team. And I feel like after last week's little taste of what it's like to beat or compete against some of the best top tier NFC teams, you can handle the Eagles. You can handle the Eagles.
Yeah, it's an interesting matchup. I mean, Detroit is at home, and we have now seen them lose so many games in the last second to such miserable, consequences of football. But like you said, love like what the Lions have been doing the last couple of weeks. But the interesting thing, like you mentioned, this is a really gritty team. When you have a running back your backup running back is your rushing leader, and your starting running back in Swift is, your receiving leader. You know that you're behind in games and you are throwing the ball a lot. But they have a lot of young talent here outside of young wide receivers. And for me, I'm going to go with the Eagles on this one. Honestly, it's weird to pick the Eagles because I want you to be right here. I want the Detroit Lions. But when it comes to the Detroit Lions, it's also about the fact that they are, pretty bad at protecting, the run and protecting, it's an interesting thing when, I want to pick Detroit, but I do think Jalen Hurts needs an easy matchup to get himself right this week. And I think this is it.
Yeah, if there is a matchup for him to get right, like you're talking about, there's a weak secondary there against the Lions. It's an opportunity for Smith to go off. It's an opportunity for Rigor to go off. It's an opportunity for Goddard to go off. Wish Miles Sanders in this game could have gotten his first touchdown of the season. He looks like he's day to day, but probably not going to play in this one. So could be the Kenneth Gainwell game. So keep your eyes out for that, especially on your waiver wires on fantasy. Moving on. San Francisco 49ers heading to Chicago, taking on the Bears. 49ers played in a pretty intense Monday Night Football game last week, and the Bears got spanked by the Buccaneers. So what's your thought on this one?
Yeah, the Bears definitely need to, kind of work more with, Justin Fields. Only 2 passing touchdowns so far on the season. I'm looking for them. I've been saying it every week. They need to get Allen Robinson and Mooney involved. And this Niners defense, as much as their 2-4 record shows, this is a team that is really willing to fight, on the defense, especially in the pass game. They are 5th ranked right now in the pass game, 20th in the rush game, which could be good for, Khalil Herbert. But we got a couple late round rookies going back and forth. Elijah Mitchell getting a huge game last week, over 100 yards and a touchdown. And then we got Khalil Herbert, who you said, the Bears did get spanked by Tampa, but this guy's got 18 rushes a game the last 3 games and got his first 100-yard game last week. I'm kind of excited to see those 2 rookies.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch the rookies go out there and definitely fight. This is, I don't know, man. The Bears are going to be without Khalil Mack. It definitely brings down the stature of their defense. I'm going to go with the 49ers. I keep picking them and they keep losing. And I keep talking about Kyle Shanahan and play scheming. And I stand by it. It's good. And, I don't know. This Bears team, I love Fields. I love that they did this move in the draft. And I'm not trying to take away from the future I think he's going to have in the NFL. But this play calling with Nagy, man, it needs to change. And I brought this up to you personally when we were talking one-on-one, and to a cousin and friend of the show, Mitch Herrera, who's a Bears fan. When you watch that first game against the Browns and Justin Fields, and you're watching 9 sacks, there were no adjustments made by that offense at halftime or in the game. And if you have a head coach who is not going to make adjustments in the game, 3 turnovers last week just from interceptions.
Yeah.
You're not gonna win a lot of games. I think that Nagy needs to make either a change in coaching decisions in terms of I'm not going to do the play calling anymore, or they need to make these in-game adjustments, because you are not going to help what Justin Fields can do on the NFL field and what he's capable of. You continue to set him up into really bad situations. And all that being said, they came into the season with the 4th hardest schedule. I talked about this constantly. When you have the 4th hardest schedule, when is the most opportune time to put in your rookie? And it's, it hasn't panned out for them, but I do believe in the success that Justin Fields is going to have. Maybe not this year, but definitely next year in his 3rd year, 4th, 5th, and it continues. But I am going with the 49ers in this one.
Yeah, I think the 49ers defense looks really good right now. Very kind of excited to see what, Kyle Shanahan cooks up with no Khalil Mack. But, the Chicago offense, it shows you here without, what we were talking about with Fields, it's tough because this rush game right now is a top 10 rush game, whether they have Khalil Herbert or they have, David Montgomery, who's coming back from injury. But, they're only averaging 124 yards through the air. So that has to deal with play calling, like you said. But Matt Nagy, the back and forth, him being on the COVID list this week, it's going to be interesting to see him go. But I don't think it's enough to get past the Niners this week.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, moving on. NFC South showdown when the Carolina Panthers make their way to Atlanta to take on the Falcons. Falcons, dude, got a big win in London last week. So what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, you gotta love what the Falcons have been able to do this year. Matt Ryan honestly looks great, despite the fact that the team has not looked super great in the last couple of games. But you got to give it to the Panthers as well, who need this win after kind of getting blown out by the Giants last week.
Yeah, dude, they were absolutely decimated. One thing I do want to say about the Panthers, though, they've had a pretty bad case of the Butterfingers.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't, I don't know if it's the Halloween season that's been getting to them too much, but against the Vikings, they dropped a bunch of balls. Against you guys, they dropped a bunch of balls. Like, yes, Sam Darnold's turned the ball over. Yes, he's regressed again back into his Jets days, but there are also just some simple, easy, routine passes that Robbie Anderson is dropping, that DJ Moore is dropping, and that's going to kill you offensively. That is not going to help you win games when your top wide receivers are dropping balls. This is a weird game for me, man. This is so similar to this Browns Steelers game where this could really go to either team. I'm going to say screw it. I'm going to go with the Falcons. I wanted to say Panthers, but my mouth wanted to say Falcons, and I'm going to go with the Falcons. I like what Kyle Pitts did last week. Look, I have him in a fantasy league. And
likes Kyle Pitts now.
When he went 7 receptions for 163 yards and caught a one-handed grab, I was like, yeah, this guy's the real deal. This guy is the real deal. So I think this is an opportunity for them to get a few mismatches with the linebackers, as good as Shaq Thompson is, and let Kyle Pitts sort of have some fun against this team. Yeah, I'll trust the Falcons and Matt Ryan. Screw it.
Yeah, for me, I kind of want to go with the Falcons on this one as well, just because is Sam Darnold gonna start the whole game? We saw, PJ Walker get in there last week for a couple of series, and it's tough right now.
And the defense is good.
Yeah, and the defense is fine. But the Falcons, I think what they're able to do with Cordero Patterson, the familiarity they have with the Panthers, I agree. I think that at home they get this one.
Yeah, you're in your own stadium. I like it. I feel like it's just going to be the Falcons. That's a weird game. Let's move on to our last game of the 1 p.m. slots. We have the Miami Dolphins making their way up to Buffalo, New York to take on the Bills. Dude, Josh Allen dominates the Bills. Remember how last couple weeks ago we saw Aaron Rodgers against the Bears saying, "I still own you"? That's Josh Allen vibes towards the Dolphins. He dominates them. He really does. And now there's a lot of trade rumors circling the Dolphins. Tua might be on the way out. Deshaun Watson might be on the way in. It's a weird time right now, and I feel like that doesn't give a lot of confidence to this offense.
Yeah, no. And, we saw Buffalo play Miami a couple of weeks ago, a month ago even, and they won 35-0. It was at Miami. And, now Miami's got to make their way up here in late October to go up to Buffalo in some tough enemy territory. Right now, I'm liking what Tua is doing. I've been giving him some slack this year, but, he has been okay. But this Buffalo defense is no joke. We talk about this, honestly, on a weekly basis now, how they have just become one of the emerging defenses in the league. And honestly, they're one of the best. So I'm kind of going Buffalo all the way here. It's a little too easy for me with the fact that even though, Dawson Knox is out, Stephon Diggs can have a big game. I don't think, with the respect to Byron Jones and Xavier Howard, I don't know if they can handle Stephon when he's getting thrown by Josh Allen.
No, I've been a Stephon fan since day one when we drafted him in the 5th round. Okay, that guy has been a beast from day one. All right, but that being said, I have to go with the Bills as well. Look, they took a pretty tough Monday night loss on the 18th, a little over a week ago, like 10 days now. And they have just sat in the bye week, letting that fester, and they've just gotten to prepare for the Dolphins. I feel like sorry, Dolphins. Like you're
ready for you.
Yeah, they're ready for it. Josh Allen's ready for this game. Stephon Diggs is ready for this game, and their next 3 games are really favorable. This is a really great opportunity for the Bills to start a little win streak, extend their lead, get up to 7-2 after their game against the Dolphins. Man, they play the Jaguars and then they play the Jets. These are all 3 of these teams should be wins for them. So I expect them to jump out to 7-2 pretty early on, and that's going to not only solidify them as the NFC East favorites if they weren't already, but potentially give them a very high placement in the seeding come the playoffs, which is exactly what you want. You want that home field advantage. You want your Buffalo fans breaking tables, and it's looking like it might not need to go through Kansas City again.
Right now, if the
make it to the AFC Championship game.
if the season ended today, it would be the Bengals getting the bye. So now you have to expect, we got a long season ahead of us, but there are some emerging AFC teams this year, but the Bills are what they looked like last year. Definitely a deep playoff team.
Yeah. All right. I love it. That is all the time that we have. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you everyone for listening.
Yeah. Thank you guys always for checking us out. JustSayingFootball.com, Just Saying Football on YouTube, and Just Saying No GWJS on Instagram for all your video and article updates. Thank you guys for checking us out.
Enjoy.